The Power and the Glory, 1940, a powerful and deeply symbolic novel by Graham Greene. The book explores faith, sin, and redemption in a time of religious persecution in Mexico. It's divided into four main parts, no titled chapters, but each section follows the priest's journey. The Power and the Glory. Section wise summary. Part 1. The setting and the whiskey priest. The setting. Southern Mexico during the anti-Catholic Revolution 1930s. Religion is banned. Churches are closed. Priests are hunted and executed. Summary. The novel begins in a poor Mexican state where the lieutenant, a strict atheist police officer, is determined to destroy all religion. Only one priest remains, an unnamed man called the Whiskey Priest because of his alcoholism. The priest wanders from village to village, hiding from the police. He struggles with the guilt for his sins, drunkenness, and fathering a child, but continues secretly performing mass and hearing confessions for the faithful. He meets Mr. Tench, a lonely dentist, and learns that a fellow priest has been executed. The priest escapes from the lieutenant's men arrive. Themes in Part 1: Sin and Guilt, Faith under Persecution, the weakness of man versus strength of faith. Part 2: Flight and the Peasant's Faith. Summary. The priest moves from one poor village to another, ministering secretly. In one village, he meets Maria, the mother of his illegitimate child, Brigitta. He feels ashamed yet loves the child deeply. She represents his humanity and failure as a holy man. The villagers risk their lives to host him, showing that their faith remains strong despite fear. The lieutenant visits the same village and takes hostages to force the priest to surrender. Meanwhile, the priest flees into the forest and crosses a river into another province. But the sense of guilt and responsibility keeps haunting him. Themes in Part 2: Conflict between duty and sin, the endurance of faith among the poor, moral weakness and inner strength. Part 3: The Betrayal and the Journey Back. Summary. The priest reaches a small coastal town and is offered safety on a ship leaving for freedom, but he cannot leave. He feels that abandoning people who still need him would betray his calling. He decides to stay even though it means certain death. Meanwhile, the lieutenant continues his merciless hunt, showing both cruelty and a strange sense of honor. He hates religion but respects sincerity. The priest meets an Indian woman and performs mass for her dead child. Later, a mestizo, half-caste man meets him and promises help but secretly plans to betray him for the police reward. The priest's compassion and loneliness makes him trust the wrong man. Themes in Part 2: Betrayal and Sacrifice, Human Weakness and Divine Grace, Duty versus Survival. Part 4: The Capture and Martyrdom. Summary. The priest is called to hear the confession of a dying criminal, even though he knows it's a trap set by the mestizo. Despite fear, he goes, fulfilling his priestly duty. The lieutenant arrests him but treats him with respect, offering him food and a cigarette. The priest refuses to repent for breaking religious laws, saying he is a sinner but cannot stop being a priest. He prays for forgiveness, not for himself but for others. The next morning, he is executed by a firing squad. After his death, another young priest secretly arrives in the town, suggesting that faith cannot be destroyed, even by force. Themes in Part 4: martyrdom and redemption, the triumph of faith over persecution, the paradox of sin and holiness. Epilogue, the continuation of faith. A little boy who once mocked the priest now admires him. When the new priest knocks on the door, the boy greets him, symbolizing hope and the survival of faith. Main characters: the whiskey priest, flawed yet faithful, the novel's tragic hero; the lieutenant, the atheist enforcer of the law, disciplined but morally complex; Maria, the priest's former lover, mother of his daughter; Brigitta, the priest's child, symbol of innocence and guilt; the mestizo, the betrayer symbolizing Judas; Mr. Tench, the lonely English dentist, represents isolation and disbelief. Major themes: faith and doubt. The priest doubts himself but never loses his faith in God. 2. Sin and redemption. Even the sinful priest becomes a symbol of grace. 3. Religion versus politics. The government's attempt to erase religion only strengthens it. 4. Courage and sacrifice. True courage lies in moral and spiritual strength. 5. Human weakness. Graham Greene shows that loneliness can exist within imperfection.